All right, so while it was compressing, I basically just drew this crappy bench here as a guide. It looks terrible, but it will do fine. Actually, it's not even right because I think this should have been, well, it doesn't matter, but we'll call that good. And then I just drew a circle, connected the lines, and went up, right? There is one more thing I actually want to do here. I'm going to make a new layer, and that is there's supposed to be a crack here that the cards are avoiding. Now, if you know how to draw a perspective, we could just try to use this as a guide, but I'm going to show you kind of a neat little cheat thing that's kind of helpful. So I'm just going to draw what I think the crack would be. Sorry, I'm using the mouse here. Draw what I think the crack would be, all the normal things here, and just, you know, whatever you think a crack would look like. And you make it from a top view. Don't try to draw it like you're drawing a perspective. Just want you to draw the crack, okay? So just give a waggle. Okay, good. That looks good. Now what I'm going to do is use my marquee tool. I'm going to select over it, hit Control X, cut it. All right. Now what you do is go to Filter, Vanishing Point. And if you make one, you just hit back. You click on hit backspace. You would think it would be delete. I did this earlier to make sure it was working, and then when I went back and did it, I kept hitting delete. It took me to figure it out, but it's backspace. Probably makes sense on a Mac. It does not make sense on a PC. Anyway. So what you want to do is the way this works, you draw out planes, and then you can drag objects over them, and they will fit to the plane. And then basically you can put it in perspective. So if you have a door that you took a picture of straight, but you want to put it on a side of a building that's like in perspective to the side, you can take a straight drawing and it will conform it, which is pretty cool. You could also use a perspective tool, but I thought this would be a neat little thing. It might be helpful to you in some regards. So anyway, what we're going to do is I already have this grid here, so I'm just going to use this as my guide. So you draw it out. So I'm just going to click, and then we'll just go out to here, and then we'll say here, and then to here. It'll actually let you know the color will change depending on whether the grid is appropriate or not. But obviously we drew this 2-point perspective, so our grid should be perfect. So now all I got to do is I'm just going to Control V to paste. Now watch this. This is really neat. You can see it automatically puts it in perspective, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to Control V to paste again because there's supposed to be a deepness to this, so I'm just going to offset a little bit, like so. And I'm going to use that as a guide, and then I'll erase out the parts I don't need. And then we're just going to hit OK. Now, there's other things with this too. If you want to look it up, you can, but this is the lump sum of it. We also could have just done this, have it here, and then did edit for you. Oh, I guess I got to select it first. That would work without that, but apparently not. Select it, and then do edit, and not giving me. Is that it? Why is it not? No, it doesn't matter. You could do perspective warp as well, but we're not going to do that. I don't want to waste any more time on it. Anyway, so there it goes. Here's a little slow. So I'm just going to go in here, and I'm going to fix this up real quick, and then so erase out the lines that I don't need. A little bit confusing. I think next time what I would do is God, that's really confusing now. I see it in perspective here, so it's got to go cut across down. This has got to come down. This has got to come down, and then we'll say that this one comes down. Okay, and we'll do erase. I might actually just paste them as their colors, like do 2 versions of them, one as one color, and then one as like that, and then one as another color. I'm not sure. We'll just call this good. Oops. Really need that part. Just back it up. A bit too far there, but that's okay. Okay, so more or less we got our crack, which looks a little bit thick, so I think I want a little bit, oops, you gotta shift now in order to do it in perspective. Okay, call that good. Okay, so now we have our crack, and we have our other stuff. I'm gonna move this V, come on, there it goes. No, maybe I turn off auto select. Okay, move that back a little bit so that it's more over there. Obviously, you want to try and paste it in position it's supposed to be, but I need to ensure my person's, I'm going to put him in the center, which is not what you're supposed to do. It should be on the third, but I'm just going to put that there. It's an area of interest. Okay. All right, so at this point we've got all of our, and I'm just going to right click on this and merge down so it's part of this layer, and we'll just call this lines. And I'm just going to go ahead and just lock this guy. Oh, sorry, I'm going to change the opacity first. So we'll do like, I don't know, like that. And then I'll lock it. And I'm going to turn the perspective off. And above this, then we'll make a new layer. And we'll just call this painting. And basically just going to paint underneath these lines, and that'll basically be it. So I'm just going to show you how I go about doing it, just to make it a little bit easier to work with. So I'm going to grab the brush here, and then it's the same thing I would do if in DI. If you've taken DI, you probably learned how to do digital painting. Just whatever method makes you feel warm and fuzzy. I'm going to go to Window and go to Brushes, and then I am going to go to Brush Settings here. And so brush tip settings, I'm going to look for something that looks painterly. I don't know, we'll go with this guy. That looks painterly. Make sure the spacing, I'll take that down a bunch, because spacing, space it out. I don't really want that on kind of streaks, right? So it's down to like 2, or you can check that off, but it'll probably be fine. I don't really know if I care. I think I'll just leave it round. Shape dynamics, I don't really need it to change as I'm drawing it. That's not really... really need any of that. Scattering, texture, I don't really need any of that. The one I like is just adding the color dynamics. So I just do Q and Shift Jitter. So basically what that's going to do is that with every stroke I draw, you can tell, let me make it more extreme. I'll go like this. With every stroke I draw, it changes the color based on its percentage. So I'm going to do like 4%, and that should hopefully make it a little bit better. But that way there's variation when I draw the brush here. Noise, wedges, build up. Yeah, that's probably fine. Okay. Control. Do I want any of these things? See, I'm not using a pen, so that's not going to help me. All right. Then from there, basically, I would just start brushing away. Right? So then you're just going to choose colors. What I might do is this as well. This is kind of a useful tool. Did it go somewhere? There it goes. It's sorry, I got a yeah, it was right. Basically, Adobe added this little app or whatever that you can create color schemes with. You want to try and make sure your colors are all harmonious. I don't really need to start a tour, and I don't like this mode. There's a way to, where is that? Color game. Switch theme, yeah. I like it dark. There we go. Okay. So I would highly suggest, so they have these different color things in here. We're trying to do a background, right? So analogous, I think, would be best because it'll keep it more toward one hue spectrum, and I can have the green or the orange kind of popping out, right? So you think about it, I'm doing an orange cone and then like a fleshy color person. So that's generally in the yellow to orange kind of sort of spectrum. I mean the blues, right? So I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's on the analysis, and then I'm just going to basically start going, and think about what I want to do for the color. So I'm just going to drag the middle one and do something. Man, come on, buddy, you got it. All right, and we'll do, I'm thinking something in the spectrum, and then I'm just going to kind of desaturate this one. I'm going to pull that this way a little bit, and this one a little bit. And see if I can get a better color of what I would like. See, I'm going to need different blend colors too, so let's go like that. I need to move this guy out of the way. And now this might be a little bit easier here too. So I'm going to need a road color. So I'm just going to take this one and drag this guy down. Make this my road color. Okay, then I'm going to need the buildings to be a color, so those should probably be more, pull this green up a little bit so it makes it a little more brick-like. I'm just trying to take the saturation down, so if I make these more even, it makes it more green. And then I'm going to need a sky blue here, so I think if I take this guy up, let's just pull this more toward green a little bit. Okay, just kind of fine tuning each one of these. This I see it's got to go back to darker a little bit. It's like affecting other ones more than I wanted. Let's just pull it more towards this spectrum. I'm gonna call that good. It's close enough. But this way I know all the colors are harmonious. Obviously, you might have more of a range. Like if I wanted a yellow or something, get a yellow. But the general rule is this. So if we have a color wheel here, you can choose any color in this general area, and they will all work together. Okay, any one, right? And if I have colors up here, any color, if all my colors are in this range, totally fine. But let's say I have a composition, and I have a blue sky. Like I want to have this beautiful blue sky, right? And then I have like blue water and stuff. If I want to have like, let's say, a red car by it, that's way over here, right? So the way to make that red match this blue, there's other ways of this too. You could shift the hue a little bit. Like that's one way, right? So I could pull more this way or pull more this way to try and get it closer to blue. The other thing you can do is if you really want to make it red, is pull it to gray. So if you desaturate it, the more, no matter what, basically, if the color's over here, it's got to pull it closer to here. So you can either pull it like this and come around to the hue, or you can pull it this way and remove the saturation. But basically, the idea is that the colors need to be somewhat clumped together. So if you want to change the hue, you're gonna have to lower the saturation, or you're gonna have to change the hue, one or the other. Okay, so that's the idea of it when you're trying to make something harmonious. All right. I'm not good with color. It's not like an area of expertise, but that's the lump sum of what you would want to do. So I'm going to call these colors good. Now I can actually use these right inside of my thing here. So this is going to be my road. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. Come on. You can do it. There you go. So I'm just going to click and drag it, Control C. I'm going here and painting. And then I can go ahead and click on this pop up. And you can actually just type in that number right here. Control V. Boom, there it is. Yay! And then I am just going to brush this all one color initially, so I don't really care that much. I like to do just kind of solid colors because it's a bit easier. Maybe even make this brush a little bit bigger. Now it's going to be a different color because I got that jitter on, but, and then maybe, brush a couple things on here now just to start, okay? So now you don't have to do the jitter thing. You could try to be more decisive and make actual choices. That would probably be better, to be honest, because make it a little bit lighter here and towards like a dark over here, that kind of thing. But my purpose is this work. Okay, call that the ground, and then next I need, we'll say the sidewalk. So I don't know, how many colors do I need? That's not the one. There it is. So sidewalk, and the sidewalk will make this color here. So I'm just going to go ahead and Control C. It's always a good idea to try and limit your palette as well. And I'm just going to do a trick I did before. So I'm going to click on here and hold Shift. Oh, I put the color in. Sorry, I forgot to do that. Control V. Hit OK. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold Shift and make it smaller. And click. Hold Shift and click. There it goes. And click, hold Shift, and click. Doesn't matter if it runs up because I can just fix that after. I'm just going to paint on top of it. I'm going to hold Alt to sample this color. Okay, don't know why that happened. Alt and click. There we go. And I'm just going to try and paint this back in a little. All right, and then you carry that up as well. And then I'm just going to go, and I think I'm just going to use this color again for in here because we have to limit the number of colors we're doing. So click here, I'm going to hold Shift and click there. Okay, and then just a little sloppiness is actually preferred because it makes it look more real and hand-drawn. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. And then let's see, buildings. Did I use this one yet? I don't think I did. Let's just grab this color and make the buildings this color. Control C. And then, again, click on this guy to add the color, to put the hex code in. Control V. All right. And I'm just going to get rid of you. I don't really need you. Click on this. I'm just going to hold Shift as I drag. Shift and drag. And then I'm just going to paint all this in. And then click, hold Shift. It doesn't really matter if that's... We'll just go ahead and fill all this in, actually. I only really need to things in with this one beautiful color. Okay. It's hard mouse though. Not gonna lie. And I'm just gonna click and drag because that's how it makes it change color each time. Alright, that's fine. I'm just going to fill in the rest of this. I'm going to pause, fill in the rest of this, and then I'll come back and show you what to do. So I put all the solid colors in there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically adjust it from here and just start brushing in, all the various things. Now, since all the colors are already there, all I have to do basically is just sample them and then make them, darker or what have you. So, like for instance, right here, come on, there you go. Right here. Obviously, like, I'm going to want this part lighter, maybe this part darker, and then this part lighter than what's here. Okay, so I'm going to hold Alt to click to drag, hold Alt, click on that, and then I'm just going to drag this down. And then sometimes it's a good idea to pull it a little towards the blue, because that makes it cooler, so it makes it recede. And then I'm just going to, to do the brackets, so hold this a little bit closer. And I'm just going to, oops. I usually like to change my flow a little bit lower, too, so there's a little more variation. And I'm just going to kind of, paint this in here. Right. So, get the idea. So I'm just kind of, just make sure you do a lot of little pitter patters. Okay. That there's variation, and then this, I'll just sample this again. This time I'm going to go a little bit up and maybe just push it a little bit more to the lighter. Getting as much variation as I was kind of hoping for. Each their own. Right, and then after that, I'm just going to go ahead and sample this again and just go a little bit darker. And then just try to basically shade it doing that. Kind of thing. Some of you guys might really like doing digital painting. Some of you might not. Come on, let's click. There it goes. And let's go more towards the lighter. I'm just going to kind of break up the space a little bit, right? So you can kind of see how that works. Alt this. And again, just bring this up a little bit just to situate the edge here. I'm just going to kind of this across. Now, it's one of those things though, like you can really play around with your brush and stuff like that. That's not, I don't know, that just takes time and stuff. And I don't know about you, but I'm sure you have like about 1 million different classes and things to do. So, I'm not expecting you to do that. Alright. Alright, and then I'm just going to kind of spread it out a little here so it just feels like it sits in a little bit better. Alright. Now, while I still have this lighter color, I make my brush a little bit bigger. And I'm going to kind of add, a little bit of something here. Like that. That looks terrible, so we're going to undo that. Not all of them are winners. So, keep going. So let's take the opacity down a whole bunch too. And I'm going to take the flow down even farther. And then this bigger. So do that, make it even bigger. There we go. Just something like that, I think works a little bit better. Just, let me do that bead. I'm trying to hit the brackets and I end up hitting. And then I'm just going to kind of just trying to break it up, and then we're going to go towards the dark spectrum now. Just hold Alt and click on this to make sure we have the right color, and I'm just going to again go dark. And I'm just going to add dark to this. Just kind of click in, drag in. All right, you can kind of see, right? So without the lines, with the lines. So you might want to keep lines just because. So what I would probably do personally is I would, after I take the lines off, I'm just going to run the road here. This layer isn't even anything. Let's get rid of that. Okay. So you would paint on that, and then just basically do the same thing here, right? So I'm going to take that. Hopefully it'll do it. Come on. There you go. I'll just go towards the darker of it. And I'm just going to kind of just real gingerly maybe make this opacity up a little bit, or a lot of it, and then just make sure I add that in here. Alright. And then we'll just go towards the light end of the spectrum, and we'll push it a little bit more to the warm as well. And then I can just maybe have the light kind of catch the starting point of each one of these. I'm going to brush across. I'm honestly not the world's greatest digital artist, but hopefully you get the idea. So, I don't know, this is obviously lacking a bit of texture, if you will. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do this for the rest of it, and then I'm going to come back. So I'm going to pause it and come back. So I very quickly just kind of brushed it. Obviously it looks terrible, but one of the issues we're going to have is when I turn the lines up, I can either leave the lines on, and they'll look, you know, they'll have the lines, which is fine, or I can turn them off. The problem, when I made the lines, I didn't really make it like high quality. So at this point, what I'm going to do is just make another layer, and I'm just going to kind of basically draw the lines in the color, but a very dark version of them, and kind of go from there. So I'm just going to zoom in here, let's say, and I have, you know, this. So I'm just going to hold Alt, click on that. I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to take the opacity all the way up. I'll put the flow about half, and then I'm going to make the brush decently smaller, and I'll make this darker. And I'm just going to kind of draw the lines in. But when you do them in the color that they are, for one, it'll make the image match a little bit better. But also, let's go ahead and cut this across. It makes it softer, so it won't stand out as much. Man, I'm doing terrible lines here. I'm just going to kind of draw these lines. And I did a good job. I know it's hard to imagine that. I'm just kind of draw these crossed. I should have done the wrong side. Oops. Should be on this side of it. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Right, should be on this side. Because I was catching that part there. So that. And come on. That. I'm just going to kind of go like so. Yada, yada, yada. You get the idea. Okay. And I'll just click on this color. And then I'll just do a much darker version of it. I'm just going to put that line, make sure we're all the way. Okay. And I'll put this line here. Sign's turning out terrible. All the way. Alright, and then, you know, certain things like this pulp here, right? So again, I'll just sample it. Just gonna put the line on there, and then I can kind of just more or less detail it. So maybe give it some extra accents and things. And then on this side, I'm actually going to do a really light line instead of a dark line. And we could do things where, like, maybe because the color here is this, so I could do something like this, where I take that and then do like kind of a light version of it, take the opacity up or down, sorry, and then do like a highlight. Just do that. Bracket this up, and then you can kind of reflect it on a little bit, right? That kind of thing. But basically, I'll just go through and finish up all the lines so that I have like more or less kind of a finished digital painting. Okay. But this video is long enough. So what I want you to do is just make one of you don't have to make all of them. Just do this one, and we'll call that good for the first scene. I'll make the other ones for when we go do the actual part. Okay. But that should hopefully give you an idea of kind of how to paint in here. Maybe I gave you some tips. I don't know. But yeah, and then the next thing I do is actually the character and all that business.